Common factoring or factor by grouping. So we have two questions. Okay. And you know what? We'll start with this one. Might seem to be a little simpler, though we're not using X, Y's, and Z variables, which might be a little more common. But we'll go through this, and the other one looked like the values are more intense, but to be honest, it's like the exact same question. It's very, very similar. What we're going to do is, first of all, we'll take a look at how many terms we have. Remember, plus addition or subtraction signs separate our terms. So there's 1, 2, 3 different terms in here. And what's important is we point out these are coefficients. I'm going to underline them in red. So we have actual values. And then we have a whole bunch of variables here. And I mean, I can give them all different colors, but I just want you to recognize that this is multiplication of a bunch of different variables. Okay? When we go through this, the process of variables is the same, and the process of coefficients is the same. We're looking for greatest common factors. So let's start with the very first one. I'm going to point out the coefficients. I'm just going to put them up here. So -7, 3, and -4. Now, to be honest, it's really the absolute value. We don't need the positive or negative, but it will come in handy in this question specifically. I'm going to look for the greatest common factor. And it turns out, 7 is a prime number, so it only has 2 factors. So is 3, and 4, gives us an extra one. Unfortunately, our greatest common factor is the value of 1. Not wonderful when it comes to factoring. I can factor by 1, but doesn't make many changes. Just because the first term is a negative, and sometimes people can be sticklers, well, I really want it to be a positive value. We're going to common factor out the number -1, just so there's some change here, okay? So I'll rewrite this all again. The second one, I won't be as methodical. I'm going to go much quicker through the second one because we've talked about the process, but this one will go, very step by step, just so it makes sense. So in this case, I'm going to common factor out of all 3 of these terms. I can put a division sign here. I'm going to common factor out -1 out of every single one. And whatever we do to one, we got to do to the rest of them. When it comes to variables, we're looking for the variable of the lowest value. So think of it like this. I have n squared, I have n, and I have n. Well, to make n squared, I have n times n. Okay. To make n, I just have n, and make n, I just have n. Well, in this case, I can only take one n out of all of these. So n to the power of 1, we're just going to write in n this case. Okay. Using that same principle, look at m. M to the power of 5, m to the power of 1, m to the power of 3. Power of 1 is the lowest power, so that's what we have to divide by. And then finally, p. P to the power of 1, I already know that's going to be it. Unless there's not a p in the rest of them, in that case, I wouldn't even divide by p, but there is a variable of p in the rest, so we're going to divide by just p. Oh, I forgot to write the m's in the other two here. There we go. There is our common factor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by writing it outside the set of brackets. We have -1 n m p. And then in the set of brackets, we're going to write what we have left. So -7 divided by 1 is actually +7. N squared divided by n, we subtract the exponents. We just have n. M5 divided by m is m4. And p divided by p is 1, and 1 times anything is itself, so we don't need to write the p in. +3 divide -1 is -3. The n's create a 1, the m's create a 1. So in other words, think of them as canceling themselves out. P squared divided by p leaves us with p. The rest of the stuff kind of dropped off. -4 divided -1 is +4. The n's create a 1. M cubed, or m to the power of 3 divided by m is m squared. And p to the power of 7 divided by p is p to the power of 6. And there we go. There's our factor by grouping question. Now let's take a look at this one here. Okay, this one here might seem a little more daunting, but again, very, very similar. And we're going to try to, instead of going through that whole process on the right side, we're going to try to pull the common factor out right away. So we got 10, 50. Oh, 10 comes out, but then 25. 10 doesn't come out of 25 evenly, so we're going to take 10. Oh, in 1 minute. I'm almost done.
I want to go so bad.
Go with mommy.
You go with me.
Okay, in 1 second. Sorry, Nathan.
It's okay.
We have our variable here. We have x cubed, x squared and x to the power 5. We know x squared is the smallest variable one. We have y, 7, y to the power of 3, and y to the power of 10. We have y to the power of 3 being the lowest. And then finally, z squared, z8, and z4. Yeah, exactly. Very good.
No, I want Daddy up here.
I'm almost done. So, oh, I lied here. I did make a mistake when I got distracted. Sorry about that.
5.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you very much. We have 5. So, there we go. That should have been a 5. Uh-oh, it's breaking out here. 25 divided by 5 gives us 5. Oh, and I got to write my common factor up first, too. So let's write our common factor. Y cubed and z squared. That's our common factor. Okay, 25 divided by 5 gives us 5. Yeah. There we go. Sorry, Nathan. Okay. Okay. Where were we? We're at the 5 here. Okay, x cubed divided by x squared just gives us x.
X.
Yeah.
Y4.
Perfect. And the z disappears.
No, yeah, minus 2. Z6.
Yep. And finally,
Minus 10, x3, y7, z2.
perfect. Nailed it. And that's it. So, though it looks more daunting, it ended up being actually an easier question.